Used to be that any Texas boy could tell you right off who is the fastest gun in the West, whether his nominee was Hardin, Hickok, or Bill Longley. Actually, it isn't easy making this latter selection, for down history's long haul, Texas Rangers count many stalwart names. Black-bearded Indian fighter Ben McCulloch and prodigious Bigfoot Wallace, red-headed Sam Walker, who helped design Colt's revolver, and intrepid first captain Jack Coffee Hayes. Rider, doctor, and fighter Rip Ford, and leathery, fearless Lee Hall. Or for that matter, the Lawman's Ranger, slim, soft-spoken Leander McNelly. No, it isn't easy at all. Yet perhaps there was a ranger who spoke and lived the creed for all this elite band. Walk a wintry street in Quanah, west of Wichita Falls near Century's Turn. A tall, wide-hatted, blue-eyed, and full-mustached man strides lankily against the cold, squinting the gusty dust, flexing his gun hand against the chill. He is Captain Bill McDonald, Company B Ranger Frontier Battalion. He is about to leave his outfit, the creed by which it serves, and has since its beginning. McDonald has been on the trail of a rustler under the alias of Miller for the last few months. Company B's captain had heard that the hard case was in town with two gunslingers avowed to get him. Upon hearing this, McDonald stated, "Then I'll do him the favor of meeting him halfway." The tall lawman's eyes iced as he started angularly for the saloon where the local sheriff would lead the three gunmen out. Quanah's sheriff walked them out and found himself a sudden shield when Miller ducked behind him, snaking for his gun. McDonald beat him to the draw. He put two bullets in Miller's vest pocket, where a plug of tobacco and a tally book stopped them. The ranger took one shot through his coat and another in his left side. Down sprawled the sheriff to duck fire and scramble away. Spreading out sprang two gunmen, drawing and shooting for the staggering officer. Miller leaped to finish him, ramming his pistol for McDonald's body. The ranger's left arm swept up. Gunpowder burned his face and ripped his hat. Then reeling, he drove a third shot to finish the rustler. But in that crossfire fusillade, McDonald was hit now in his upflung left arm, now on his right side. Spun around, eyes hazed, the ground reeling. He hadn't the strength to trigger his gun to full cock. His left arm limp, he tried to thumb it with his right. He couldn't, and he had but seconds. He whipped the gun to his mouth. Spraddle-legged and knees buckling, he cocked the hammer with his teeth, snapping it back, then swung on the spread-out gunmen. They were gone running. They knew he would have cocked it again with his teeth, or his boot, or a saloon post. They would fall, and he wouldn't go down. He did finally, but only with the rustler Miller finished and the field of battle held. In a few weeks, he'd be in the saddle again. It would take age and pneumonia, long years later, to stop Ranger Bill McDonald. The Texas Rangers were formalized short months before the Republic of Texas and held the frontier against Santa Anna in the south and Indians in the northwest. Uniquely in American military history, this elite band of soldiers spearheaded Zachary Taylor from Palo Alto to Buena Vista and Winfield Scott to Mexico City during the Mexican-American War. Over the years to come, they would stand nemesis against bandit, riot, feud, outlaw, rustler, or gunslinger. It was over the span from Texas's Reconstruction ordeal to the more solid ground of the 1900s that William Jesse McDonald stood tall. McDonald was born in Kemper County near Meridian in eastern Mississippi and relocated with his mother and other siblings to East Texas after General Sherman and his troops destroyed the town in the family's homestead. His father, Enoch McDonald, is believed to have been killed in 1862 in the Battle of Corinth, Mississippi. At the age of 16, McDonald quarreled with federal officials during Reconstruction and was tried for treason, but was acquitted through the intervention of future U.S. Representative David B. Culberson. He graduated in 1872 from Seoul Commercial College in New Orleans, Louisiana. As a young man, McDonald taught penmanship in Henderson until he opened a small store at Brown's Bluff on the Sabine River in Gregg County, Texas. He later established a grocery at Minola in Wood County, Texas. Still operating his store, McDonald grew interested in law enforcement. He became deputy sheriff in Wood County. He was friendly with future Governor James Stephen Hogg, then a Justice of the Peace in Quitman, also in Wood County. It was through Hogg that McDonald met his wife, the former Rhoda Isabel Carter, whom he married in January 1876. By his early 20s, he had been a teacher, grocer, deputy, and small rancher. His friend from Manola, Jim Hogg, helped him to be what he most wanted, a ranger. In 1883, the couple moved to Wichita County, Texas, and thereafter to Hardman County, where he was again a deputy sheriff and advanced to special ranger and U.S. Deputy Marshal for the Northern District of Texas and the Southern District of Kansas. His career would travel across all Texas, from the Sabine River to Brownsville to the Panhandle. He would wolf hunt with Teddy Roosevelt and bodyguard Woodrow Wilson. Yet he had broken rustling out of Amarillo, banditry in Wichita Falls, riot in coastal Texas, and mutiny at the Rio Grande's tip. His bold tactics drove the Brookings gang from Hardman County. McDonald also apprehended cattle thieves and train robbers in No Man's Land and on the Cherokee Strip. In 1891, Governor Hogg named McDonald to succeed Samuel A. McMurray as captain of Texas Rangers Company B Frontier Battalion, a position he retained until 1907. McDonald and his company were involved in numerous matters throughout the state: the Fitzsimmons Mayor prize fight in El Paso, the Wichita Falls bank robbery, the San Saba County murders perpetrated by the, quote, Murder Society, the Reese Townsend feud at Columbus and Colorado County, the lynching of the Humphreys clan, the Condit family murders near Edna in Jackson County in South Texas, the Brownsville raid of 1906, and the shootout with Mexicans near Rio Grande City in Starr County. In these endeavors, only one ranger, T.L. Fuller, lost his life under McDonald's command. Off the train to put down a riot in Columbus, he was confronted by citizenry horrified to see but one ranger. Legend gives Bill McDonald's drawling answer, "Well, you ain't got but one mob, have you?" Warned against single-handedly confronting such a mob, he said wryly, "I'm pretty good at single-handed talk." Evidently, he was. "If you wilt or falter, he will kill you," Captain Bill advised his rangers. "But if you go straight at him and never give him a chance to get to cover or think, he will weaken 99 times out of 100. One afternoon of February 25, 1896, two cowboys, Foster Crawford and Elmer the Kid Lewis, robbed the City National Bank, then located at Ohio and 7th Street in Wichita Falls. They killed the cashier, Frank Dorsey, took $410 in cash, and after a short firefight with local officials, fled on horseback. A posse of citizens under the command of Bill McDonald captured the pair that night, hiding in a thicket outside of town. The next day after Bill McDonald departed, the anger of the townspeople turned to violence. On the night of February 26th, a mob dragged the prisoners from the jail and lynched them in front of the bank building. Bill McDonald was an expert with firearms, but the historical fact belies his public image as a deadly gunfighter. He brought in persons alive rather than dead. His makeup did not include being trigger-happy. "I was never a killer," Captain Bill confided to his official biographer. "Some fellas seem to want to kill every chance they get. In a business like mine, there are plenty of chances. But I never did want to kill a man, and never did when there was any other way to take care of his case." McDonald did participate in a few gunfights, but his reputation as a gunman rested upon his easily demonstrated marksmanship, his flair for using his weapons to overawe his opponents. In 1905, McDonald acted as bodyguard to President Theodore Roosevelt, who later entertained him at the White House. His wife, Rhoda, died in 1906. Later, when the 25th Infantry's Negro troops rioted and shot up Brownsville in 1906, McDonald alone would walk into Fort Brown with a pump shotgun, face 20 leveled rifles, and the command to halt or be shot. He prefaced his reply with sulfur, then snapped, "Put up them guns." The troopers dropped them, and an officer of the 25th would summarize for posterity, quote, "Bill McDonald would charge hell with a bucket of water," unquote. During his years as a law officer, he proved to have a remarkable ability to stand up and face down disorderly crowds. Carl T. Ryan, a member of Company B, once said, "I used to tell him, 'Cap, you're gonna get us all killed the way you cuss out strikers and mobs.' "Don't worry, Ryan," he would reply. "Just remember my motto." When the soldiers of the 25th Infantry were pressured to name who had fired the shots that killed and wounded Brownsville residents, they insisted that they had no idea who had committed the crimes. Captain McDonald investigated 12 of the enlisted men. The local county court did not return any indictment based on his investigation, but the residents kept up the complaints about the soldiers of the 25th. Major Penrose was subject to a court-martial for neglect of duty to the prejudice of good order and military discipline, McDonald accusing him of trying to shield his soldiers from prosecution. During the trial, which lasted from February 4th to March 23rd of 1907, Penrose called McDonald a contemptible coward. Penrose was acquitted of the charge. President Theodore Roosevelt gave all the soldiers dishonorable discharges after officials accused them of engaging in a conspiracy of silence by not identifying the particular soldiers who fired the shots that killed a Brownsville merchant. Many years later, President Richard Nixon reversed Roosevelt's directive and cleared the lone survivor among the soldiers of the 25th, as well as a posthumous recognition of the other 166 who had died already. In 1907, McDonald relocated to Austin to serve as state revenue agent in the administration of Governor Thomas Mitchell Campbell. In that capacity, he increased the state tax evaluation by almost $1 billion in 2 years. Henry Monk Gibson, a Negro teenager, was employed by John F. Condit. Late in September of 1907, Condit's wife Laura, their 12-year-old daughter Mildred, and sons Herschel, Jesse, and Joseph were found bludgeoned and stabbed to death at their home. The youngest Condit child, 10-month-old Lloyd, survived. Laura and Mildred had been raped. J.F. Condit had been working in a rice field several miles away. Suspicions soon centered on Gibson, who was the person that initially reported the murders. Gibson was taken into custody that evening by Jackson County Sheriff Albert C. Egg. He subsequently escaped while being transferred to a jail in nearby Hallettsville and remained at large for nearly 2 weeks, sparking a massive manhunt that drew national attention. In the meantime, his family was arrested and jailed, possibly due to suspicions that they had aided in his escape, and possibly also due to the rumors that local mobs were going to burn them to death. Governor Lanham called out troops, elements of the Houston Light Guards, and another contingent of cavalrymen from Austin to protect Gibson and his family from lynching. Captain Bill McDonald led a contingent of his Company B Rangers into Jackson County to coordinate the search for Gibson and later to protect him from angry citizens. Captain Bill McDonald knew that criminal cases could not be solved without patient collection and analysis of evidence and the interrogation of those taken into custody. The day he arrived in Edna, Captain McDonald talked with people at the scene of the crime, made a thorough search of the grounds, interrogated witnesses and suspects in an effort to obtain what he required. McDonald even offered protection to those who gave him information to quiet their fears of reprisals. By the next morning, McDonald was in the saddle to hunt for the missing Gibson. On October 9th, McDonald tracked down Gibson hiding in a nearby barn. He was promptly indicted by a local grand jury. His attorneys won a change of venue to Bexar County, where a jury was unable to reach a verdict, at least in part because it was thought that the slightly built Gibson could not have acted alone to commit the killings. Indeed, after the mistrial, another Negro man named Felix Powell was tried, convicted, and hung in connection with the Condit murders. The second trial of Monk Gibson was held in DeWitt County, adjoining the county in which the crime took place. Here, a jury selected from 190 men convicted Gibson of murder on evidence that included testimony that Gibson was seen near the murder scene at the time of the killings and that he was found to have blotches of blood on his clothes and skin after the bodies of the Condits were discovered. During the duration of the trial, Gibson remained in the personal custody of Bill McDonald until he was eventually hanged in Quanah on June 27, 1908, before a large crowd of onlookers. After the publicity of the trial, McDonald was later a bodyguard for Theodore Roosevelt's nemesis, Woodrow Wilson, who named his fellow Democrat as U.S. Marshal of the Northern District of Texas. McDonald and 3 other officers, John H. Rogers, John R. Hughes, and John A. Brooks, are known as the 4 great captains in the Texas Rangers' history. The uplifting nature of the story of the legendary Ranger of the 19th century results from its simplicity. A white hat takes on a black hat. In this morality play, Bill McDonald played a key role. His easily remembered macho deeds will be turned into memorable tales about the law enforcement operations of the Texas Rangers. In the Ranger Valhalla, McDonald holds an honored place. Some authors see him as a super peace officer ranger, a partial inspiration for the masked pulp hero, the Lone Ranger. The mention of his name, writer Harold J. Weiss Jr. states, made the pulse of good Texans beat quicker and the feet of outlaws move faster. McDonald died of pneumonia in Wichita Falls, Texas. He was buried at Quanah, the town where he had nearly met his end, apprehending a rustler one windy, wintry evening. His tombstone carries his motto: "No man in the wrong can stand up against a fella that's in the right and keeps on a-comin'."